I lost my dad, and my marriage was ending around the same time. So I was grieving the loss of my dad and my marriage. Right,
and it's grief.
Right, which
is grief.
It's grief. It's grief. And so the good thing I think for me is that I really took those 3 years, to really get to like, okay, check in with myself and say, okay, who do I want to be? You know, how do I want to come out of this process? And not necessarily like what are because sometimes, man, grief is just grief. It just hurts. You don't have to try to find the life lessons in it. But I let those things just kind of evolve over time. But it was through, going back to the earlier conversation, it was through that solitude that I had. I wasn't rushing to kind of get back out in the world and to reconnect. However, so it's an interesting thing. So you got to know when there's how to maximize that solitude that you have, but then also when it's time to get back in the game.
You got to turn the page at some point.
Yeah, you got to turn the page at some point and get back in the game, because life, and this is what I have learned and understand, man, that sometimes we think we're the only ones that's going through something. Right? Just because it's ours. Man, trust me when I tell you, if you're leading groups of people, if you're managing or leading groups of people, you start to realize everybody is going through something, man. And yes, it's unique to you, but you're not special in that pain.
Hey guys, welcome to the Soul of a Man podcast. It is your boy DB. I'm here this evening with my podcast partner, Chill. Chill, what's good, brother?
It's real good right now, man. Today's been a good day, brother.
No, man, you're right. So we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we shot a few episodes today, and we're wrapping up today with our first men's panel. We've been talking about this for a minute, wanting to bring a couple men together and just talk about, again, the things that impact us, our families. We're certainly not a complete subset of the entire men's population, of black men's population, but I think we have a pretty good mix. And again, we won't touch on everything that's impacting black men, but we're going to try to touch on as much as we possibly can. What I would love to do first and foremost is sort of go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves. And here's the caveat. When you introduce yourself, we want to know who you are. We don't care about what you do. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times black men are defined by what we do. So we really want to know who you are. And if you want to throw what you do in there, that's fine. But don't let it define you, is what I will say to that. We can start to my left if you don't mind.
Sure. My name is Quan Bryant. I'm a motivator, educator, and mover.
Love it. That'll work. All right, Jonathan Hill, first generation college student, college grad, first generation corporate, a father, a loving husband, and try my best to be a servant of God.
My brother.
And I'm Michael Humphrey, the other half of the Soul of Man podcast, and few different names, brother. Few different names, but go by Michael. Greensboro, they know me as Hump. My father was Hump before me. My brother was Hump Jr. I was Lil Hump, and but my brother nicknamed me Chill, and that's stuck since I was about 13. But I'm a single father of 3. Twin college students at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and a 15-year-old at the Middle College at North Carolina A&T.
Amazing, man. So I am James Joshua, first generation college graduate in my family. Been married for almost 6 years now. Just motivator, never give up, never quit, very humble, chill, relaxed to myself, and looking to make a difference in the world.
That's what's up.
Absolutely. My name is Anthony D. Bryce. I'm a best-selling author. Just call myself an empowerer, man. An advocate for self-empowerment, healing, and building healthy relationships.
That's what's up, brother. So I'm Darren Bryant, a.k.a. DB, the other half of the Soul of a Man podcast. I am a son. I am a father. I'm a husband. I'm a brother. And I try to be just an all-around good guy and want to make a difference in in our community. So hence the reason why we're here tonight. So before we dive in, guys, I want to take a quick survey just to see what type of age groups we're working with here. So we'll start with the old head. So by show of hands, who at the table is in the 60 and above category? My man.
All right, all right, all right.
What about the 50 and above? All right.
Okay.
40 and above.
Sir.
And 30s.
All right, all
We
right.
got the youngster
All
at
right.
the table.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
man, we wanted to have a really good subset again of our community. Guys, let me ask you this. So before we really get rolling, and I want to go around the table again, because I think it's important when we have these type of forums that we check in. So I want to know how everybody's coming in tonight, and you can just tell us how you're coming in your own way.
Yeah, I'll start us off. I'm grateful. And I really come in just being grateful and thankful for the opportunity to show up in this way and try to add value.
Love it. We keep it going around. Okay, sound good to me. I come in with a little bit of mixed emotion, right? I'm a little exhausted. What we have going on today that we have to continue to deal with. It's nothing that's brand new, right? But it's resurfaced again. But very much so like Quan, I do come in a new fervor, right? I'm hitting a new stride in my life, marriage-wise, fatherhood, and so just a new fervor in myself as well.
Good. I'm coming in an interesting season, and just a different life season. Just turned 60 in January, so some of those things that you think about in regard to legacy and even your mortality starts to weigh on you a bit. But real enthused about what I've got going on with Darren and the Soul of Man podcast, and excited to be here in Charlotte again to talk to some different folks. We knew it was going to be good. Man, today's been a good day. Today's been a good day. We knew that this gathering of brothers tonight was going to be special, and just a little bit of the chat that we had before we got started. Man, I'm hyped.
Absolutely. Great stuff, man. So I'm in a season of stretch right now. I feel like there's a lot of change in my life right now, and that's causing me to stretch myself and causing me to change in different areas of my life. So I'm in a season of stretch.
That's what's up.
Well said.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I would say I'm tired and focused at the same time. I mean, because you have to kind of acknowledge when you are tired, and sometimes we try to push past things and acting like they don't have an impact. But things are moving along. I'm starting to get some wins. Been doing what I'm doing for a long time. So sometimes when you don't see specific results, feeling like you're supposed to be at a certain place based on your work ethic and how long you've been doing something. But even though I'm tired, I still keep showing up. And things are starting to move in the direction of the vision that God gave me. So I'm trying to stay obedient to that.
All right.
That's what's up, brother. I'm coming in a little antsy, to be totally honest, and not in a bad way. I feel like we're on the precipice of something really happening big for this podcast. And so I keep saying, God, I feel it. I feel your presence. I feel this thing turning. I need you to go ahead and, hit the turbo. Could you please? Because the brother needs some money. We're paying out and ain't a whole lot coming in right now. And so, man, I feel real antsy. We've had several great shows the past couple of weeks. Just recorded a series of great shows. So we're waiting for that one big hit, and I feel like it's right around the corner. So it's a bit of antsiness, and it keeps me up at night. But you know what? I'm built for it. So yeah, good deal. One other thing I want to do actually before we dive too far in is a couple of thank yous. First of all, thank you to John and his wife Shiana Hill for allowing us to have this at their home, their lovely home. I want to thank his wife, who is the owner and curator of The Board Life. and it is a charcuterie board, mobile charcuterie board business. And she'll come out in a little bit and talk more about it. She's actually prepared a delicious meal for us tonight. Can't wait to dig in. We've already had some candy bacon and some charcuterie, and she's also made some good old fashions and some pineapple lemonade. So, man, it's going to be a great night food-wise. This is going to be a great night of conversation, so looking forward to it. To you, brothers, even though this is the soul of a man, I don't want to be the only one sort of dictating how this conversation goes. If the younger brothers have a question for the old heads, please feel free to ask. If non-married guys have questions for married guys, whatever it looks like. This thing is ours. It's not just Chill and I. It's all of ours. So let's let it take off and go where it needs to go. So don't hesitate to jump right in.
All right.
Chill, I'm gonna turn it over to you, man. You got anything?
No, just excited about this and hoping we all can be open and honest in this space, and no judgment, no whatever. Again, in the conversation that we had just prior to sitting down, have learned bits and pieces about each of you, and just enthused, man. Just really, really, really just enthused. Like I said, I've got a 15-year-old. I was telling him something the other day about work and work ethic and, what he was going to have to do when he got on the job. And he looked at me like I had 4 heads. He said, on the what? I said, when you get on your job. He said, Dad, I ain't working for nobody. I said, okay. And then he, proceeded to give me his sales results from his business.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, young man, you probably ain't gonna work for nobody.
I love it though, right? Absolutely.
Talk about what his business is.
Yeah, so he came up with a concept, man, called Silky Wraps. And he was focusing on women working out and them being conscious of their hair when they work out, and created a product that slips over workout mats, and another product that's paired with it that slips over benches in gyms. And he came home one day from school and he said, "Yeah, Dad, I got in a little bit of trouble." He's not a kid that gets in trouble. He said, "What? How do you get in trouble?" He said, "Well, I went to the bathroom and I stayed too long." I said, "Well, you gotta go. He said, "Yeah, but I kind of lied. He ain't a kid that lies either." I said, "So what happened?" He said, "Well, I got a call from my manufacturer and I had to take the meeting." He's 15.
Wow.
Levels, man.
Wow, levels.
He said, "You manufacture for," I didn't know about the business. "Manufacture for what?" Man, he told me what he was doing, showed me his business plan and LLC, and his mother taught entrepreneurship for many years. So they had been working on it on the low, and Dad felt a little left out.
Yeah.
Was a little salty that I wasn't included. But yeah, he said, I had to take a meeting from my manufacturer, but he was trying to launch before the holiday, was rushing. I said, wait until January, and so every day there's another ting for sale.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
man.
yeah, proud of him.
That's what's up. Cheers, the nephew.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But it's we talked about it a little bit as we were coming in here. Just I'm so inspired, and D talks about it all the time. And I forgot exactly what you say about it. You said,
Tell you.
Yeah,
So
please.
my peer group keeps me honest. The younger brothers keep me humble and hungry. Reason why my peer group keeps me honest because they've known me the longest. And they're quick to say, "Come on, Ninja, you tripping, right?" But then I see the drive in you younger brothers, and what you're doing. First of all, it's humbling, but it also fuels this fire that I still have burning inside my belly. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
to both my peer group and to you young brothers.
Yeah, yeah. And excited knowing that the time, age-wise, God willing, you've got runway.
Yep.
Right.
And we talk all the time about, hey man, my runway is getting shorter. And it's a tough pill. It's a tough pill. To
Your
swallow.
15-year-old, he got a lot of runway. He got a jet. He building a 757.
Tell him to say Uncle Seat on that jet.
Right. We trying to get on that payroll.
Come on, man.
Hey, yeah,
Man.
yeah.
So I got a question. Who all is married at the table?
Yes.
All right, dating. Okay. Question.
I'm dating my wife. I date her
There you
too.
go. There you go.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Brother John, you trying to get some points tonight, ain't you, fair? I see where you're going with this. He maximizing this opportunity.
I'm 20 years in. I'm trying to show y'all the nuggets now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Knowing his wife is an earshot away,
I heard what you said.
I heard.
So, what is the? It doesn't have to be one thing, but what is the? I'll say what is the one thing that you wish your spouse or significant other knew more or better about you that she does not currently know?
Be careful now.
No, within earshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
And this is for anybody.
For me, I like my space.
Okay.
I enjoy to do things I like to enjoy doing. Whether that's I'll take a hike by myself. Just being to myself sometimes just to regain focus, realign myself. Because like you say, men don't sleep.
Yep.
All we think about is the future, what we can do for our families, what we can grow. Right. So that time alone where you're not hearing any other voices is pivotal for me. I need that. So I wish my wife would understand that a little more. She understands it, not saying she doesn't, but she think I'm just talking or just, hey, you don't really need that much time. So I really do. Like it helps me just stay grounded in when I am feeling down in business or life, I can pick myself back up. And also sitting around a table like with a group of men like you talking about it, things like that too. Because there's certain things that with your wife you can have that conversation. Mm-hmm. Men are logical, women are emotional.
Sure.
So it's like you can talk to them, but are they really getting what you're saying?
Right.
So that time alone and that time with brothers like y'all, it definitely helps. It helps push me to bring that fire back.
Recalibrate.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Have you always needed that solitude?
I didn't realize it until I got older that that's what really helps me.
That's real.
Yeah, because I grew up in the city, so you're always around people.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a hindrance to me because it's like you can get sucked up in this type of mood because you're with this type of crowd or, things that are just in your environment.
Yeah.
When you get that environment to yourself, you can only focus on yourself. Mm-hmm. So I definitely realized that the older I got.
Yeah. So many brothers can't be alone though.
Yeah.
I've got some close friends and close relative that literally just can't take the time. Black men that really just can't take the time to go internal, whether it's too painful to look at oneself, and really assess where you are, or just needing that companionship all of the time. My marriage, we separated and moving towards divorce. And I've had to take some time down to just reflect on myself. And, what could you have done to, have made it work? It was 23 years.
Yeah.
What could you have done to make it work? And it was, it was some work I needed to do on myself, but am comfortable, when I need to shut down and it be me. Now, I can't say it was always the case, but now I'm comfortable enough with myself that, I can do that.
Yeah. It takes growth, man. It takes growth.
I'll piggyback off that. I'm with you on the solitude piece because I think that's important. I think one of the things that it could be a significant other that your wife might need to know about solitude is that I think that solitude doesn't mean that you're not satisfied. Because I think when we steal away sometimes from our wives and ladies that they don't think we're satisfied with them. There's something that's wrong. There's something that's going on. And so I think that's the thing that I would like to share, that just because we may need our, not may, that we will need our solitude, it doesn't mean that we're not satisfied with them. So that's something I would say.
That's what's up. I'll jump in. So the one thing that I wish my wife knew, and I don't think she does, is that, the Bible says God doesn't give us the spirit of fear. But I'm scared. I'm not going to front. I ventured into an ordeal 8 years ago. And that 8 years ago, I had a child at 50 years old, my first son. Then come 4 years later, his little sister comes along. Mind you, I have two older daughters, one older than you, James. She is 30. She's going to kill me. I think 36 now. I have a 29-year-old. So I started this fatherhood thing all over in a much different time all the way around than I did the first time. I mean, you're talking about social media where it is, instant news, instant whatever. Everything is at our fingertips. So it scares me. It scares me that, we talk about our own mortalities, especially when you're almost 60 years old. And I'm like, man, God, please just give me enough years to see these two grown. So I get a little scared. And I don't know that my wife knows it because I walk around and I have the good front up because I have to. At least I feel like I have to. Maybe I don't, but I feel that way. So I have to, for her and the sake of those kids, I have to put that good front up. So if she watches this episode, I guess she'll know I'm a little scared.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, if you don't keep the front up, you run the risk of, literally terrifying her.
Yeah.
And
because women love security.
yeah.
And so that's kind of my job as the man of the house, and her husband is to provide that security, man, in all fronts. So no, you're right.
But that can be a lot of weight.
It is a lot of
Oh,
weight.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
And to your point, something that could keep you up at night.
Yeah.
Right?
Will.
Right.
Will.
Right. Exactly. Present verb. Well, this is a very interesting question. My wife and I have been together for so long. Like some of the things that we talk about often are, we see a younger couple to get together, and we're like, okay, you established who you were, she established who she was, and then you all came together. You kind of had some sort of sense of who you were. I was like, we ain't know who we were. I didn't know who the hell Jonathan was, right? Like we came out of the parents' house, and she was coming out of her parents' house, and then we unified together as one. So, I give that backstory because we've been coming on a path or going along a path for so long, almost 25 years together and 20 years married. And so there's a lot that I initially wish that she understood that as of the last, I say 2 or 3 years, she gets now fully. Like I had to search in my, I'm gonna use an older word, Rolodex. I had to go through my Rolodex, right? To be able to figure out or to think of something. But there is one that came up as of late. And, I heard a lot of great adjectives when we first described ourselves. And I recently joined a fraternity, and the name that was bestowed upon me was builder, right? And I very much so am a builder, community builder, relationship builder, right? And I feel like I probably share that amongst most of the men that are at the table. And sometimes my movement is not necessarily for the benefit of me, right? I'm going to see somebody because I feel like they need my presence sometimes, right, to be able to guide or develop. And so sometimes I wish that she would be able to see my path, where I'm going. I wish that she did, but also I understand that she doesn't because my path is not her path. What is bestowed upon me is not for her. right? And so I get that, but it would make it a little less friction, right? If at some time she understood why I was making a decision or why I was heading a particular direction, because there is a plan. The beauty is she does trust me at the end of the day. Yes,
That's big time.
yes,
That's what matters right there.
absolutely, absolutely.
So just thinking about what John said about as far as being with somebody that long, like I've known my wife for 24 years, went to college together, kind of, became adults together through that. But as much as we communicate, I don't think when it comes to my upbringing, a lot of times I talk about it in regards to how we parent. But as I've gotten older, even probably the past couple years, just thinking about how it impacts me now, like just emotionally, how I think, how I move, some voids I may have, thought that I had back then. And I don't think she knows that, because I feel like that's something I'm coming to terms with myself. Because a lot of times when single mother, absent father, imprisoned father, grew up around the way where a lot of slang, a lot of things going on.
Wow.
So a lot of times, when those things impact you and a lot of people right beside you going through the same things, you kind of minimize it like it's typical, unfortunately. And we don't really talk about that still matters. It still impacts you. It's still, as you get older, and no matter what, that stuff stays with you. And that's something that we never really deal with. You know what I'm saying? Because we push it under the rug because we know so many other people that's like that. And because we know so many other people that's like that, we feel like we don't have the right to complain about it, or for it to have an impact on us, or for it to hurt, or to be a wound that still needs to be healed. Absolutely. So when it comes to the context of my wife, I think that me being able to have those conversations with her from that perspective, when it comes to, man, I don't think you really understand what I've seen and experienced as I grew up.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Just like watching a movie, like if you see somebody's life story in a movie, you'd be like, man, even people
Right.
maybe they're an artist
Right.
or a musician, and you'd be like, hey, man, I didn't even know they went through that. Now I understand. How did they even accomplish all those things having gone through all that? And I think in having those conversations with her like that about that, I think she would understand me better, and I'll probably understand myself better and get some healing in that space at the same time.
It's funny, man. Women think that men have choices, and I'm going somewhere. We had a show just recently, or not too long ago, dating after divorce, and then we had an after show where we had everybody come on a Zoom, and we had just live interaction, and we talked about men not having a group of brothers. Women always have a sister circle. So the moment the woman goes through something
Man.
traumatic,
Absolutely.
the sister circle swoops in
Right there.
and they pick her up.
Support.
Support.
Yep.
Whether she asks for it or not.
That's right.
For us, not so much. And so there were a couple sisters that said, wait, that's a choice you guys make. And I'm like, no, it's not. So let's think about it. We've been conditioned. I'm 59. So I've been conditioned since I was able to walk from my dad and from other males. Men don't cry.
That's right.
Be strong. Suck it up.
That's right.
Don't be a punk. And so now, 59 years later, you tell me I have a choice? When I have not had a chance to reverse this thinking, reverse what's been indoctrinated inside of me, and you tell me I have a choice. I think a lot of women think we do when we don't. I think we're getting better as a body in terms of finding our brotherhood. But man, it's still a far cry from what they have. We talk about this all the time. A group of sisters say, you know what? We're going to Dubai in September. Guess what? They're going to Dubai in September.
Right, exactly.
You can't get a group of ninjas to take a trip from Charlotte to Raleigh without having a plan for 10 weeks. Right. And since somebody's still going to mess it up.
Exactly. Man, my girl tripping. Man.
Exactly. But bro, you knew where we were going 2 months ago.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting, man, that sometimes they feel like, well, you guys should be just like us. Or here's another one. I don't know if you guys have experienced this. There's a study that says women have use 20,000 words a day. Men only use 7.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm home from work, my 7,000 words are gone. Let's just say she's used her 7 in a day, first part of her day. She's got 13,000 left. And you best believe they want to use those 13 on you when you like, yeah, okay, You don't have anything left. So what are we supposed to do about it? Don't get me wrong. I work really hard, and I'm a fairly good communicator as it relates to my wife and I. But not many brothers are like me. Most brothers are like, man, can I just please read the newspaper, or on my phone because you're not reading the physical newspaper
right.
anymore. Can I please just kick my feet up for a little bit? Can I drink on this Manhattan? Can I watch television? Can I watch, Sports Center?
Can I decompress?
Can I decompress before
Right.
you ask me anything?
Right.
But it's as soon as you walk in the door, rah.
Now I had this exact conversation with another young lady, and she said, "Now here's the flip of that," and we've all heard a version
Yeah.
or two of this, right?
Yeah.
But the flip was, she said, "Now you pretty dynamic, so all day you've been giving this dynamism all day long, just wowing everybody, pleasing everything, and then you get home and it's just like." And she said, I need that same level or something. You can't just give it all away all day. And then by the time you get home, there's nothing left for us and the family. Right? And I thought it was very deep. It was very deep. And it wasn't my wife. We were at an event, and it was another young lady that was saying it. And I said, so do you not allow us as the men that have been dealing with things all day to be able to come home and come to our same humble abode that we feel is our sanctuary and our safe space, and that's our time to just basically be able to shut off the world and be able to go through our range of emotions that we need for decompression? And she said, yes, the key is we have to talk about what that looks like and agree to it so that we can move forward. And I thought, that was profound. I couldn't say nothing else after that. I said, okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's a little different though, and I don't know that I would have had an answer to her response either, because it's pretty doggone good response. But it's not just the work day. It starts the minute we walk out the door.
Oh, absolutely.
It was this young fella. He wrote an interesting piece.
Wonder who you talking about.
What was it called, D?
I am not okay.
I am not okay.
Yeah.
And had the audacity to send it out globally to the staff of Bank of America. And I don't know whether y'all ever saw it. You saw it. McGuire.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
Oh,
Jerry
yeah.
wrote the
Manifesto.
manifesto to the company, and they bid him a due.
That's right. Exactly. Allowed him to seek employment elsewhere.
Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? This brother very easily could have gotten that response, and been sent on his way, but that was not the case. But I say that to say it's a very good piece. We'll make sure if you haven't seen it that you see it, because it was dynamic.
By the way, you could tune into the Soul of a Man podcast and see that exact episode.
Absolutely. And it opens with him reading that
Yes,
that
it
opus.
does. Yes, it does. Yeah. But from the time we get up, before you even get into an office, you're battling.
Oh, absolutely.
From the door. And I remember, conversations telling my wife, it's not diminishing anything for black women, but for black men also, the minute we walk out the door, our skin is weaponized. And you on the defensive from that point.
Immediately.
Then, get into a nonprofit workspace or a corporate workspace or whatever workspace that you're in, and you're fighting and battling uphill to gain an inch somewhere, anywhere. Leave that space, get back out into the world, and you're on the defensive again, and you're carrying all of this to the point where you get to the point where, man, home is the safe space, and when I can get there, I can decompress,
Right.
and I'm safe. Oh, baby, you mean I'm not safe here either?
And
Wow.
Here's the crazy thing. Most, I was going to say this, it is not necessarily as true as it has been, but I was going to say most sisters, and certainly people who are non-melanated, don't have the same drives in terms of their commute that we do as black men. It's rare that they have to worry about the blues behind them.
That's a good point.
Every time I set foot in my car,
Oh, for sure.
I have to worry about the blues and whether I'm going to make it home or not. So yeah, you're right, man. When you leave the crib, when you return, and then you got to come in the crib and kind of deal with some stuff.
And here's the thing I wanted to say about the challenge to the question of men have a choice. All the things that we are told that define us as our purpose as a man are the things that we say we don't have a choice over. If you are a real man, you have to do this, this,
Right.
and this. If you don't do this, then you're not a real man. Do you want to be a real man? If you don't want to be a real man, don't do these things. But if you're going to be this, a man,
That's right. The box.
you don't have a choice but to do these things. So that would be my challenge to the, okay, you have a choice when it comes to all of those things.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing because I think we do have a choice, right? And it's and going full circle in this conversation with your son, Chill, this interdisciplinary age difference, right? This connection between the younger generation and the older generation. I think we were raised in such a way that we had to do that,
Yes.
check those boxes,
Yes,
or
sir.
be in that box.
Yes, sir.
And I think they could call it performative masculinity, right? Where we have to perform and do these things a certain way, but we also can have a choice to show up differently in that space. I just share a little bit. This week, it was interesting this week. I was feeling a little melancholy the whole week, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, right? I was like, what's going on? The days are starting to get a little longer now. I should be,
Right.
should be feeling a little better
Yeah.
about things.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. And it was literally Thursday morning. I was getting dressed, and I heard the birds chirping outside, and I broke down crying.
Wow.
Broke down crying. Now, the reason why I broke down crying, it hit me. And I knew when the birds were chirping, I knew why I started to cry. Because my dad was really big into nature, right? My dad, he had an interesting look on life. He loved nature. He said that nature was his sanctuary. All right, and the animals were the parishioners, and that the birds were the choir.
Wow.
Right? That was his philosophy on that. And so when I heard the birds chirping,
Yeah.
I was like, that's Pops. And then my Pops to be passed for
5 years.
5 years in April, right? And I didn't know it. So I'm sitting there preparing to go to work, crying. But I gave myself that space.
Love it.
I gave myself that space. I cried, let it out, got myself together, and I went to work. And I even shared with some of my colleagues about that experience.
Wow.
10 years ago,
Right.
I would have never I wouldn't even have allowed myself to cry,
Let alone disclose it.
let alone disclose it. And so going back to this idea around choice, we have to start redefining
Absolutely.
what is masculinity for us. What it was for my dad doesn't necessarily have to
Talk
be
about it.
for me.
Yep.
And so we as men can redefine that. And so I just thought that was interesting, and that we don't have to fit in those boxes. We can create our own new boxes for ourselves, and even learn from some of younger people as well throughout that process.
Was it the loss of your dad that allowed you to start letting the tears flow, or was it at some other point that that change?
Yeah,
for you?
that's a good question, Chill. I think it was because, and this goes into another topic, grief, right? And grieving, because I never really had to grieve the loss of someone that close
close,
before
yeah.
until my dad transitioned. And so I think, ironically for me, so I lost my dad, and my marriage was ending around the same time. So I was grieving the
Right,
loss
right.
of my dad and my marriage, right?
it's grief.
Right? Which
It is grief.
It's grief. It's grief. And so the good thing I think for me is that I really took those 3 years, to really get to like, okay, check in with myself, and say, okay, who do I want to be? You know, how do I want to come out of this process? And not necessarily like what are the because sometimes, man, grief is just grief. It just hurts. You don't have to try to find the life lessons in it. But I let those things just kind of evolve over time. But it was through going back to the earlier conversation. It was through that solitude that I had. I wasn't rushing to kind of get back out in the world and to reconnect. However, so it's an interesting thing. So you got to know when there's how to maximize that solitude that you have, but then also when it's time to get back in the
You
game.
gotta turn the page at some point.
Yeah, you got to turn the page at some point and get back in the game because life. And this is what I have learned and understand, man, that sometimes we think we're the only ones that's going through something, right? Just because it's ours. Man, trust me when I tell you, if you're leading groups of people, if you're managing or leading groups of people, you start to realize everybody going through something, man. And yes, it's unique to you, but you're not special in that pain and that even suffering sometimes. And so it's realizing like, yeah, you know, at some point it's time to turn the corner. But what are the things that you gather from all those issues and challenges that you go through?
Good deal. So you led me to another point that I'm going to make after we start eating. I have a question to come back to something you said. We're getting ready to have some grub, fellas. I don't know about y'all, but my stomach is
let's
touching
go.
my back.
That's right. Yeah, ribs playing tag with my backbone. Let's go.
What's good?
Absolutely. I heard the clanging back there. I was like,
Heard
it's
the
time to
clanging,
go.
too.
No.
So what we got here?
All right, so before you all start with your courses, I have some accoutrements here, some bourbon glazed bacon that I want you all to enjoy. Might give you a little bit of a nice feeling afterwards, and then a little bit of a charcuterie, so that way you all can get acclimated in our home. And so thank you so much for selecting us and choosing to film here. So there you go, this is yours. Grilled pineapples, and there you go.
Looks delicious.
There you go. And I have one more thing for you all. I have some salmon meatballs coming up.
Okay, great. Great.
So I have here my uncle's old-fashioned recipe. I am a little bit heavy-handed, so it's pre-made, and then there's some garnishments on the side. There's some black cherries, and then there is some dried oranges, and then rosemary, however it is that you prefer to make your old-fashioned or how you like it prepared. So enjoy.
I love that. Love that. Got the kiwi up there. Yeah. All right.
I have you right here.
Okay. Thank you. Wow.
All right, guys, y'all enjoy.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Hey, for anybody who's watching this episode, because we're not going to cut any of this out, so if you catch us smacking in the middle of this, that's okay. Go get you something to eat.
Right.
So if you're in the Charlotte area or, you know, within a reasonable driving distance, check out The Board Life. This is Shiana's business. She makes excellent food. Whatever the occasion, poker night, birthday parties.
There you go.
Weddings, you name it, she can do it. So check her out if you're in the Charlotte area. We'll put her information at the end of this episode so you can get in contact with her.
So thankful. I can't wait for that corporate check. Corporate clients. Yes.
So I'm gonna try not to talk with my mouth full. But Quan, you mentioned something about, and it's one of my questions. You having a good cry early in the week. One of my questions, guys, was when was the last time you had a really good cry, and what was it over?
That's real deep for me. So I cried actually a week and a half ago. It was so my wife and I, we were going through a separation. Past 2 years, we've been living in separate states. we've been together in terms of business, but not personally. Wow. So we kind of kept that attachment together. And now we're transitioning over. That's why I said a season of stretch. Transitioning over into a season of making things work. And I'm trying to muster up the strength in me to make it work because I've been so far removed from her. Right. So I cried for the first time in front of her we've known each other almost 10 years now. First time in front of her, a week and a half ago.
Wow.
Week and a half ago. And it was, we're having a really deep conversation about how I felt during our time together and how I felt unseen and things like that. And it just kind of brought all that frustration back and that feeling back, and it just came out of nowhere. It just started coming. Yeah. It just started coming.
Talking about back to what you were saying, Quan, redefining, right, what masculinity looks like. Because, again, the fact that you're able to just talk about it at that level, James, like, you seem like a cool brother, but you just met me, right? And the fact that you were able to bring that to the table, brother, that's empowering. That's powerful. That's powerful. Wow. Wow, I'm trying to think back. Look, because I had to shed a tear here and there every now and again. I'm trying to think when the good cry. When was that last good cry? Yeah, I think of that one. Dude.
It's funny for me while you're thinking, John. I don't know if you guys know, but Quan's my brother. Same mom, same dad. So, coming up on this 5-year anniversary of my father's passing has been a little tough. My son, my dad's name was James. My son, his middle name is James after my father. And oddly enough, he's the only boy in our family to carry my dad's last name. Because Quan had two girls, has two girls. I had two girls, or have two girls, prior to him coming along. And so he frequently asked me questions about my dad. Because he was, I think, 3 when my dad passed away. Yeah, he's 3. And so he had some familiarity with my dad. And so every time he comes to me, I have to wait until he leaves to have a meltdown. But he always asks me something really interesting about my dad. And my daughter, who's 4, never met my dad. My wife was actually pregnant with her when my dad passed away. But she talks about him all the time too, just like she's known him for a while, but she never had a chance to meet him. So kids will certainly bring tears out of you when it comes to that kind of stuff. Their innocence. But yeah, that's probably it for me. And I'm sure my dad's birthday is next Friday, or would be next Friday. He would be 80 if he was still alive. And so between next Friday and April 28th, I'm sure I will have several cries.
Sure. Yeah. Y'all sound like y'all were close. Both of you all speak so highly of him. So I do recall when I do recall my cry, which was I can't remember if it was December or January, but nonetheless, less than 60 days ago. And it was actually in a movie theater. Yeah, it was in a movie theater. I was actually watching a movie that you really shouldn't be crying to. Right? It was Pharrell's Piece by Piece. Right? Piece by Piece. Now, the backstory will make it a bit more plain, right? So, maybe the September, a few months before that, I decided to pledge for a fraternity. And as I was coming through the ranks, there was an assignment just to tell who you are and a little bit of your heritage. And as I started researching, I'm from 757 Virginia Beach all day long. And I was researching, and you can't help, as soon as you research Virginia Beach, the first person that's likely going to pop up is Pharrell Williams, right? He's from Virginia Beach. Yep. Same school, went to the same high school as him. He's a few years older than I, but so we weren't there at the same time, but same school, Princess Anne High School. And I started seeing that he was building or constructing a development housing development. I was like, oh man, this is pretty cool. And he started talking about this one housing project that's right by the beach, Atlantis Apartments. And as I was reading the article, it just started bringing all these memories back. Now, my mother, right? We were at no point were we rich or wealthy or even probably comfortable. But we didn't actually live in the projects. My aunt, her biological sister, lived in the projects, and she had children, and they were younger than me. So I was always over there. I was always watching the kids, and I almost grew up in that projects because I was over there every summer. Right? That's where I was at. It was the second home. Yeah. And so, Atlantis Apartments, those projects just really resonated with me, and so I did my entire piece around Virginia Beach that talked about the population and statistics and Pharrell and all the other Missy Elliott, Timberland, all of them, they're all from the exact same area, and so I write this report, give the presentation, and then we go to see Piece by Piece just a few weeks later, and I say it was September, so it had to been much closer. But we get into the theater, and Piece by Piece is actually a biography almost, right, of Pharrell's life done in a Lego fashion. So it's a kid's movie, right? It's a family movie, right? And first of all, ingenious, right? Number one. And his entire time, he films in Atlantis Apartments. He talks about the growth and the struggle and what it was to be in Virginia Beach, and I just couldn't hold it in. I'm sitting there boo-hooing throughout the movie. I'm trying to look over the kids. Y'all bopping over there, right? The soundtrack is great. And my wife just looking over there, and she just puts her hand on me, right?
It was a wrap.
Bruh.
It was a wrap.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? That was like the acknowledgement, baby. Just let it out. Yeah. And that, right? But man, it was so touching to me because I hadn't thought about that in so long. And there I go having to do more of an academic report. Yeah. And then I see it on the screen, and I see an entire theater that's getting an opportunity to get exposed to where I come from, the project that I also grew up in. Yeah. And even when I did the actual academic project, I talked about how it shaped me. That was the first time I heard reggae music. I remember Patra, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Right? I remember all of that that I got exposed to. Right. Look, I ain't know what a candy lady was. I was like, why we need a candy lady? Food Line is right there. Right? Food Line got a whole aisle of stuff. I don't understand the candy lady. Right?
Go to the candy lady.
Right. And so it was just an instrumental point in my life. But anyway, that was definitely a moment that was I just had to let it out.
That's good. It just speaks to the power of seeing your true self, like the act to be able to see. When you talk about representation, it's one thing.
Exactly.
It's one thing to see, hey, they look like me.
Right.
It's another thing to see your experience, your real experience. Right. So I think that's what that
Without
was
a doubt.
when you've seen it.
Without a doubt, that lived experience. Without a doubt, because I can articulate it all day.
Right.
To your point, to be able to see somebody that went through those same footsteps, right, and had the power to be able to put it on the silver screen so that others can enjoy it at the same time, and then bop to it as well. Oh man, absolutely, absolutely.
Now y'all can see me.
Yeah, right.
That real me.
That's it. I often talk about that at work, being able to see me. Right. I love it.
Talk about that. Either one of you two.
I'll let you kick it off.
Which part?
Scene. Mm-hmm.
It's so important, man. I don't even have the words to articulate how important and how much that means and how much that's needed. Like before, when we were talking and getting to know each other, I was talking about the viral post that I did that was talking about men and talking about, how they should be seen and heard and understood beyond the things that they're supposed to do. And the fact that thousands of men commented and said, finally, somebody said it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they felt like even, a lot of people are scared to even say those things, or comment, especially in public, for people to look at them a certain way, for them to be able to say, you see me. Like, man, what do you say to that? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I felt that so much. And the power of that for men from all walks of life, all over the world, all different ethnicities, pretty much saying, I feel the same way and going through the same thing from a men standpoint. You know what I'm saying? So, and the more we talk about the levels of who we are, where we're from, what we look like, our heritage, all of those things, that takes it even deeper. So when you start to really see yourself, and especially we go through our lives so much feeling like we're trying to find ourselves or figure out who we are or create who we are, and to get to a place where you can say, this is me, this is real me.
Right.
Take off the mask,
Right.
take off the societal expectation. This is me. It's the most freeing thing in the world.
I became friends with a lot of white kids, and they really liked me or whatever, and they would pick me up from practice. I started playing sports and got pretty good at sports and stuff. But I'd never forget one of my really good friends, his mom picked us up, and it was during Christmas time. And we were all riding in the car together, and we were looking at the different lights in the neighborhood. And so there was this one house in the neighborhood that had different colored lights on, right? And we were all in the car, and she was like, and this lady would keep me in the evenings, take us out to eat, was just really nice. But I'll never forget, she said, look at that nigga mess. Right? And then she was like, oh my God. Because she didn't realize, she didn't see me as black and African American. And I'll never forget, and I didn't know what to say.